Hey guys, welcome back. It is week number 2 in the month of kindness, also known as July. And we are talking this week about bringing kindness to people who have opposing views. And there's that opposite thing going on again, where we have said that a character trait is only valid when it is used in an opposite situation. And so certainly kindness, we can bring kindness to a conversation that we are having with someone who has the exact opposite views that we do. When we think of kindness, we often think that it is a smaller player. And so we often relegate kindness to opening a door for someone, or paying for someone's coffee in the line behind us, or letting someone go first. These are all niceties, but again, this is not necessarily kindness. And as we talked about last week, it's expensive to be kind because it's going to challenge our beliefs and our behaviors and make us uncomfortable sometimes. And certainly in the context right now of our political situation, there is a lot of beliefs and a lot of hot topic issues that are being challenged right now. And the way that we handle that, we can certainly bring kindness to these larger issues. It's not just relegated to the simple, but we can inject kindness into these complicated situations so that we can all benefit. So as I was thinking about how to explain this, and I went many different roads, and I finally settled on this kind of like this macro conversation that we're having at the national level, and then this micro conversation that we have with each other on the street level. And in this national conversation, we have this tendency when we have these national issues, and the issues that I'm talking about, we're talking about abortion, LGBTQ rights, gun control, marijuana, immigration, mental illness, racism, homeless, all of these hot topics right now in our society. And certainly as we are getting ready to enter the political season to elect another president, there's a lot of agitation going on both sides of the aisle. None of us are happy. And so how do we bring kindness to each other when we are talking about these issues? So when we're talking about them, we have this macro conversation, this national conversation that's going on, and it comes in the form of somebody at a podium or a pulpit, at a rally. This says turn or burn. A lot of times on our rallies, we have a tendency to judge and to shame and to bash people. Or on TV, our news anchors, the late night comedians, our movies, TVs, advertisements, all types of entertainment and media. There's this national conversation going on where each side purports that they are correct and that they have the answer and that everybody else is wrong. That's kind of a blanket statement, but in general, that's not the case everywhere, but in general, that is what is going on, is that we have this tendency from the TV or from the podium to talk to the masses and to talk at people, and it's usually not very kind to the other side. Each side wants to be right, we put the other side down, we point out each other's flaws, and so we have a tendency to say, these are our pros, and this is what we're about, and that's all it is. It's like a marketing or a sales speech, and it's all the benefits of what we have to offer, none of the cons, right? We leave that to the other side. We certainly point out the cons in each other, but we don't do it in ourselves. And so this has a tendency to be not understanding and not tolerant and not kind. Then we have this micro conversation going on. This is the street level, this is relationship building, and this is where we have they're playing tennis. I'm not very good at drawing, but we have trust, vulnerability, grace, forgiveness, humility, and transparency. And when we have those components in a relationship, we are able to discuss and tolerate both the pros and cons of any situation without getting all upset or without yelling. We can have healthy conflict. We can have commitment, accountability, and results. We can have those even if our side doesn't win, or even if there's something that we don't agree with. We can still commit and still have buy-in and accountability when there is trust and vulnerability, grace, forgiveness, humility, and transparency. Now, in this macro conversation, Obviously, the person at the podium or the person on the TV screen is not going to have a personal relationship with all of these people down here watching. It's impossible to know all their stories. It's impossible to know where they come from. And so I was trying to figure out how to bring this relationship team building into this macro conversation so that we all don't go completely bonkers as we're entering this next season of politics. So this is where the team building comes in. And this is where we can merge these two together. And I'm going to move out of the way so you can take a screenshot with your smartphone if you want. I will also post this on my Facebook page. But basically, in this team building concept, I have listed the majority of us around the table. There are people dealing with safety issues, infrastructure, homeless, ethnicity, race, gender, sexuality, religion, economic, socioeconomic, citizen, alien, immigrant, the chronically ill, the mental health, people working on our environment, animals, the legal moral issue, Wall Street, drug and alcohol companies, children, adults, senior citizens, the elderly, healthcare, entertainment, the nonprofits, the for-profits, the unemployed, the disabled, small business, big business, political parties, science, natural disasters. We are all at the same table. We all want to be represented. We all want to have a seat. We all want to have a voice. We all want to be respected and validated, taken care of, and protected. The fear is, and when we get into trouble, is that we are afraid that we are not going to be represented. We are afraid that there is going to be somebody in power or somebody in control that is not going to take care of us and have our best interest in heart. If we got to the point, all of us, if we could say, yes, I'm a Democrat, or yes, I'm a Republican, and here's the pros and cons of my party. Here's the pros and cons of this issue that I am all about. If we had a place of humility that we could do that and be transparent and vulnerable and say, let me hear the pros and cons of your side of the issue. And then here's my pros and cons. What do we have that's similar? What do we agree on? What do we not agree on? What can we put in and what can we take out? But if we can do that in a humble way, that's when we are going to start solving some of these issues. Because we can look at each one of these issues and go down the line. We can look at abortion and we can say, one side will say, you don't want to take away women's rights for fertility, I get so going so fast and I lose my vocabulary. I'm so sorry. You don't want to take away the women's reproductive rights, right? It's a woman's right to choose. It's a woman's body. Then the other side will say, well, since it's a completely different set of DNA, it is inside the woman's body and being supported by the woman's body, but it's not the woman's body because it's a different set of DNA. So you have these two different sides, right, from the macro, from where you were saying this out and saying it's in either or situation. But when you have this relationship, then you find out that there's a whole lot more going on. The person might be kicked out of school. They might not have the financial resources. They might be in a marriage that is just a complete disaster. They might, all kinds of things going on over here in this relationship. So if we can have this conversation, and the same thing with the LGBTQ, it's not just like, oh, that's right or that's wrong. There's people under every one of these situations. Every single one of these, there's things going on under that issue. And when we just talk at it from this bullhorn, like from the media or from the podium, right? Because there's conservative and liberal medias, and it's one-sided, right? We don't have news except for Spectrum. Other than them, we don't have news outlets that are very objective. I think there are some other ones, but I'm talking about NBC, ABC, CNN, Fox. They are all one-sided, right? And that is not helpful. It's just not helpful. If we could all get to the point where we are brave enough to listen to each other and to listen to the good part, because we all have there's good things in the Democrats, there's good things in the Republicans, there's good things in the liberal side, there's good things in the conservative side, right? And then they all have their cons, their downside. If we can get to the point where we are brave enough to embrace in that conversation, we are all going to be so much better off. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I will text you guys next week. Being kind to people who need help. Thank you so much.